I want to make you a bet. Give Section 8 investing 1 year, just 1 year of actually doing the thing, not just watching videos about it, not telling yourself you will figure it out later, actually doing it. And I promise you, 12 months from now, you will not recognize your financial life. I'm Nana, a former real estate attorney. I used to host over 20 Airbnbs. I burnt out, and then I ended up pivoting to Section 8, and I built a $1 million Section 8 rental portfolio in just 2 years. And in this video, I'm giving you the exact month-by-month plan to get there yourself. So let's dive in. But first, if you want to know exactly how much Section 8 would pay you for your specific property in your specific neighborhood, I built a free Section 8 payment estimator and rentals to retirement calculator that you can get in the description below. It's going to tell you exactly how much Section 8 would pay, how much your cash flow would be for your specific property in your zip code, and it will show you how many rentals you'll need in order to retire or replace your current or goal income. So check that out in the description box below. It's totally free. And make sure you get it now because you are definitely going to need it for month 1 of this challenge. So first, let's talk about why you want to commit for 1 year. Why not just try it willy-nilly and see where it goes? Well, here's the truth. Most landlords who are sitting on the fence about Section 8 are not going to commit at all. They're going to watch this video, think, yeah, that sounds good, and go on about their business, go right back to doing things exactly how they've been doing them. Committing for 1 year forces you past the research phase, past the fear, past that first Section 8 tenant, into the part where the system is actually running. And that is where everything really changes. 1 year is not a long time. The time is going to pass anyway. It is one lease cycle. It is one proof of concept. And for most landlords I know who made the switch, it was all they needed to never look back and never go back to doing things the same old way again. So for month 1 to 2, you want to get your market right. Here's the thing people don't talk about when making the switch to Section 8. The biggest obstacle is not the program itself. It's not even the tenants. It's the 11 million horror stories you've heard about that were almost certainly the result of landlords who have bad screening and have no system. I came out of law school drowning in hundreds of thousands of student loan debt, working in contractor hours. I really didn't have a financial cushion. I was also fresh off of going through pregnancy challenges to having my son and then getting pregnant again with my daughter. And yes, I had 2 under 2 in my 40s, and I still started because I decided the risk of staying stuck was bigger than the risk of starting. And I knew with all I had going on, I wanted a sustainable and more set it and forget it chill style of real estate, not the hustle and grind mode of, say, Airbnb, which I used to run over 20, fix and flips, wholesaling, and even being an active real estate agent. All of those take active day-to-day work. So your action step for month 1 and 2 is to open up that free calculator I just told you about and the payment estimator, plug in your market, plug in your zip code, and use the numbers that it comes up with, which are directly from HUD and the government's published rate, to see how much Section 8 would pay for housing a voucher holder in your area. Because a lot of landlords are actually shocked to find out that Section 8 would oftentimes pay them more than what they're getting from their current tenant or from what the local rentals in their area are doing. And that's with the added bonus of those payments being guaranteed. So if you happen not to own yet, you can still use the calculator and the estimator to find out what areas are really good ones to buy for Section 8, which ones are going to give you the most cash flow. Month 2, you want to call your public housing authority and ask about their voucher wait list, their landlord onboarding timeline, their inspection process, and just get a sense of how this particular public housing authority works, because each one is going to be a little bit different. And this is going to be your shortcut. Instead of spending hours of Googling, you can just talk to someone there and they will give you the down low. For month 3 to 4, you want to run your numbers cold. So my portfolio averages, each property averages anywhere from $600 a month in pure cash flow. And some properties actually do over $1,000. And that didn't happen because I got lucky deals. It happened because I really ran the numbers every single time before I decided to commit to anything, before I decided to move forward. Not just, yay, this one feels right, just using real math, which is hard for me because if you know me, I was never the math girly, but I knew that this was not the time to just wing it and wing the numbers and go off of, just vibes when it comes to rental properties. So your action step for these 2 months are to run the 4-number formula on every property you are considering. So you want to figure out your expected Section 8 rent based on the MAR, the fair market rate from HUD, your mortgage payment, your taxes and insurance, and about a 10% buffer for maintenance and vacancy. If what is left after that is at least $300 to $500 a month, you have a deal worth considering moving on. If it's not, you definitely want to walk away because it has to make sense. It has to make cash flow. And $300 to $500 a month may not sound like much money in the moment, but that is passive money for the most part that you don't have to actively work for every single month. So if you start to stack those up and you do a few of these over time, you'll begin to build a real lever that is going to get you to your wealth goals. And this is a good time to go back to that calculator if you haven't downloaded that free estimator, because it does not just show you monthly cash flow, it also shows you what that cash flow compounds to over time. And that's cash flow that can help you maybe cover first your basic bills, then your lifestyle, then your retirement or even your early retirement on your goal timeline, and hopefully even leave a legacy for your children or whoever you have in your life. And seeing that number alone has gotten more than a few landlords off the fence once they can see the real possibilities of what's stacking this kind of cash flow that is guaranteed every single month over time. So if you already have a property, run this formula right now with the number that you got from the payment estimator versus your current rent. And like I said, many landlords are shocked that Section 8 would pay more than what they're currently getting or what they've seen out there. And even if it's not more, but maybe close enough, again, that is guaranteed rent every single month instead of hoping and praying that your tenant actually pays you on time, if at all. Month 5 and 6 is when you want to list your unit or make your first offer. So if you already have a property, this is where a lot of people stall. They have done the research, they know their numbers, and then they just kind of like, wait. Wait for what? The perfect moment does not exist, okay? My first property, my first Section 8 rental was not perfect. It cash flowed and it taught me everything I needed to know about creating a successful system for running a Section 8 rental, and it helped to fund the next purchase, the next property. So your action step for these 2 months, if you already have a property, is to, again, contact your local housing authority and get your property listed in the Section 8 program, listed on the affordable housing website. And once you find a tenant, they will eventually schedule your inspection, which is basically a thorough check to confirm that your property is not a heck hole and meets the standards and is safe and in good condition, right? They want houses that people can live in and not falling apart. So if you've been maintaining your property, keeping it in decent condition, or you know what you need to do to make sure that you are going to pass on the first time, or you just need minor fixes, you will likely pass, right? And once you pass, you will sign your housing assistance payment contract, and that is what locks in the government's portion of your rent every single month, as well as your tenant's portion if they have anything to pay, because the government can pay anywhere from like 70 to 100% of the tenant's rent. If you're still looking for your first property, this is the month that you stop looking and you start actually making offers. You want to use your formula and move on anything that passes the test. And here is something I want you to start thinking about in this phase, even before you find your tenant: your lease. I cannot tell you how many landlords come into Section 8 using a generic lease that they downloaded for free online, and then they wonder why they have no true recourse when something happens to go left. So your lease needs to clearly spell out your tenant's responsibilities, your responsibilities as a landlord, what happens to them and to their voucher if the lease is violated, what constitutes violating a lease, and how your property is protected. This is not the place that you want to wing it, okay? If you want a specific Section 8 tenant application and lease that I use in my $1 million rental portfolio, I have a bundle of the exact ones that I use as a former real estate attorney myself. You can get that in the description box below, and it's basically done for you legal paperwork that is already built specifically for Section 8 rentals. But whatever you decide to use, make sure it is airtight as best as possible before anyone signs anything. And you can get the ones that I use in the description below. Months 7 to 9, you want to place your tenant and build your system. This is the key piece that makes or breaks you as a Section 8 landlord, and I truly mean that seriously. The difference between the landlords who have horror stories and are always talking about, Section 8 is hell, and the ones who thrive almost always comes down to one thing, of course, the tenant that they choose and they let into their property. And this is the case no matter whether it's Section 8 or regular traditional rental, okay? You need to screen your tenants like it is your job. That is your job. That is the whole business. And your process needs to be as rigorous as it would be for a market rate tenant, credit history, their real rental history, find out who they really rented from, references, income verification for any portion that they are responsible for paying, the works, all of it, okay? Because a Section 8 voucher does not make someone good or bad as a tenant, right? The person makes them good or bad as a tenant, and your screening is how you're gonna find out whether or not they are the best fit for your property. So your action step right now is to have your tenant screening criteria written down, make sure it complies with the law, and apply it consistently to every single applicant. This is gonna protect you legally as well as protect your asset. So now, once your tenant is placed, start to build your system that keeps things running mostly without you. Lock in your vendor list, the people who are gonna be on speed dial whenever you need it, and do this before you need it. Your handyman, your plumber, your electrician, 2 options each so that you can easily take care of things. Even have a pre-approved small spending limit for repairs so they can be handled without you being the bottleneck in the system. A tenant reached out recently about their AC not working, and we were able to get that taken care of in less than 24 hours and for less than $1 bajillion. And instead of it being an emergency that really ate up like my whole day or all of my time, it wasn't. It was something that was really easy to take care of. You also want to set up a dedicated account for rental expenses and automate documenting every repair request, communication, and when it's complete. Because yes, Section 8 comes with more paperwork than a standard rental, but that paperwork does protect you just as much as it protects your tenant when you do it right. Now, here we are between month 10 to 12. You want to stack, repeat, and scale. So by month 10, you have your unit cash flowing, you've got a good system running, and a relationship built with your tenant if you do things the right way, as well as the public housing authority. Now, you do it all again. One of my former Airbnb clients that actually is one of the reasons I got into Section 8 rentals, he told me about a tenant of his that had been in one of his properties, he has so many, for so long, that tenant and their rent paid off his mortgage entirely, okay? And that is what long-term Section 8 tenancy looks like when you build it the right way. That tenant never moved and paid off his mortgage. So no horror story, just a wealth building story. And it all starts with the right tenant, the right lease, and the right system. So your action step for these last months are to go back to your numbers. Look at new deals with everything that you now know, the system that you've built, what works for you, what doesn't, the type of tenant you like, maybe the type of property you like, etc. You've got all of this experience now under your belt, and now you have guaranteed rent hitting your account every single month. You know what it feels like, which is very nice. So use that experience to optimize and move faster and smarter on the next one. That is exactly how we were able to build our portfolio, one property at a time, 1 year at a time. So that's it, just 1 year. That's all I'm asking. 12 months of actually doing the thing instead of just talking about it. And for a lot of you, you can really do this in 30 to 90 days, depending on how far along you are in the process and your experience. So if you are taking this challenge, drop a comment below and tell me what area you're in or what market you're targeting. I read every single comment and I want to know where you are investing. And be sure to get the free Section 8 payment estimator and rentals to retirement calculator in the description below, so you can get a real sense of how much Section 8 would pay you and what building a Section 8 rental portfolio could mean for you and your life. Next, go ahead and check out this video here so that you can get even further along in your Section 8 rental investing and real estate journey. I'll see you there.